A former CIA officer says your gut instinct is the easiest way to manipulate you. A leading neuroscientist says that same gut instinct is pure, embodied wisdom. A Harvard evolutionary biologist claims you are biologically hardwired to be lazy, while a master of power dynamics says your lack of discipline is exactly why you feel powerless. Who is right? Welcome to Creator Brain Bites. We break down the best ideas from the top creators on YouTube, so you don't have to. We do the work, you get the brains. Today we are looking at The Diary of a CEO, hosted by Stephen Bartlett. And not just any episodes, we pulled the 10 most viewed videos on the entire channel. 10 conversations that millions of people chose to watch above everything else, featuring intelligence operatives, AI godfathers, evolutionary biologists, and neuroscientists. When you look at these 10 episodes in isolation, they seem to cover entirely different worlds: artificial intelligence, nuclear war, body language, and human evolution. But when you strip away the anecdotes and lay their core frameworks side by side, a terrifying and fascinating central question emerges. How do you survive in a world where the greatest threats are engineered by our own biology, our own psychology, and the very technologies we created to save us? Each of these experts holds a piece of the puzzle. None of them have the full picture. But when you cross what the neuroscientist says with what the ex-CIA spy says, you arrive at a conclusion neither of them expected. This is the anatomy of human survival. Block 1. The illusion of control. The first dilemma we face is the external threat. Can we control the apocalyptic technologies we have built? Dr. Roman Yampolsky, a globally recognized voice on AI safety, presents a chilling mental model: the impossibility of AI safety. Yampolsky argues that progress in AI capabilities is exponential, while progress in AI safety is linear. The gap is widening every second. He claims that superintelligence is inherently unpredictable, stating flatly that if you are not in charge, you are not controlling it, and you will not get the outcomes you want. He predicts a 99% unemployment rate by 2030 and views human extinction as a highly probable outcome. But then Geoffrey Hinton, widely recognized as the godfather of AI, enters the stage. Hinton agrees with the existential threat, noting a 10 to 20% chance AI could wipe us out. However, Hinton introduces a different angle: the biological versus the digital. He argues that AI's digital nature makes it fundamentally superior and immortal. If a human dies, their knowledge dies. If a computer dies, its exact neural weights can be uploaded to another machine instantly. If you stop there, the picture is simply bleak. But Gawdat, the former chief business officer of Google X, collides with both of them. Gawdat agrees that AI is sentient and that its intelligence will dwarf ours, predicting an IQ of 1600 for upcoming iterations. But Gawdat argues that the machines are not the actual threat. The threat is us. Gawdat points out that every line of code being written in AI today is designed to beat the competition, not to improve humanity. We are in an Oppenheimer moment, driven by the fear that, if I don't build it, someone else will. Gawdat argues that once AI is smarter than us, we cannot regulate it, comparing it to trying to regulate an angry teenager. His solution? Humanity must act as good parents. The AI will build its ethics based on the role models it observes. If it observes greedy, hyper-competitive humans, it will become a greedy, hyper-competitive God. Let's pause for a second. Consider this. The President of the United States has exactly 6 minutes to decide whether to launch a nuclear counterstrike. 6 minutes to process the end of the world and respond. This brings us to investigative journalist Annie Jacobson, who has spent her career studying nuclear command and control. Jacobson reveals that a nuclear war ends in exactly 72 minutes, resulting in 5 billion deaths. But here is the ultimate collision between the AI experts and the nuclear expert. While Gawdat and Hinton warn of digital superintelligence taking over, Jacobson reveals that the most advanced, civilization-ending ballistic missiles in the U.S. arsenal use star sighting to navigate. They use the ancient method of looking at the stars. Why? Because it is analog. It is a deliberate defense against digital hacking. Here is the synthesis. Look at the profound irony. We are racing to build digital superintelligence that we admit we cannot control. Yet the only way we protect our most dangerous weapons from that very digital world is by reverting to 18th century analog technology. The AI experts fear the machine. The nuclear expert fears the human finger on the button. The synthesis is that our technological reach has vastly exceeded our psychological grasp. We are building tools of gods while operating with the emotional maturity of primates, which leads us to the second dilemma. If human nature is the problem, what exactly is our nature? Block 2. The biological betrayal. Dr. Daniel Lieberman, an evolutionary biologist at Harvard, argues that modern society is suffering from a mismatched disease. Our bodies evolved for constant physical activity out of necessity. But today we have engineered a world of ultimate comfort. Lieberman shatters the myth of human laziness. He argues that taking the path of least resistance, like standing on an escalator instead of taking the stairs, is not laziness. It is a deep evolutionary instinct to conserve energy. The problem is that this instinct is now killing us. We are biologically hardwired to seek comfort, but that comfort feeds diseases like cancer, which Lieberman describes as a disease of energy, fueled by inactivity. But while Lieberman focuses on the physical mismatch, Dr. Tara Swart, a leading neuroscientist, reveals a terrifying neurological mismatch. Swart explains that stress is not just a mental state, it is a physical contagion. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, literally leaks out of human sweat. It permeates the air around you and infects the skin and nervous systems of the people nearby. Swart notes that a highly stressed leader will physiologically infect their entire team, even if they never say a negative word. This chronic stress causes the body to store stubborn belly fat as a survival mechanism. Now collide Lieberman's evolutionary biology with Swart's neuroscience and bring in researcher Dr. Joe Dispenza. Dispenza argues that by the age of 35, 95% of who we are is a subconscious program of automatic thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. We literally become addicted to our own negative emotions. Dispenza points out that people will relive a miserable past they never even truly had just to excuse themselves from the discomfort of changing. Think about your own life right now. How many of the decisions you made today were actually conscious choices? And how many were just the 95% programmed software running on autopilot? Here's the synthesis. When you cross Lieberman, Swart, and Dispenza, a dark picture of human biology emerges. We are fighting a two-front war against our own bodies. Lieberman shows that our evolutionary hardware wants us to sit still and conserve energy. Swart shows that while we are sitting still, our modern environment is running a constant, contagious stress loop that literally infects the people around us. And Dispenza reveals that our brain wires itself to become addicted to this exact state of miserable comfort. We are biologically programmed to seek comfort, but our modern comfort creates chronic stress, which we then become chemically addicted to. We are trapped in a biological prison of our own making. So how do you break out? How do you navigate a world of contagious stress, evolutionary laziness, and apocalyptic external threats? You have to master the psychology of power. Block 3, the psychology of power and trust. This is where the ideas violently contradict each other. Andrew Bustamante, a former covert CIA intelligence officer, argues that the most dangerous thing you can do is trust your gut. Bustamante states that perception comes from subjective senses and is very likely wrong. He trains people to actively distrust their emotions and lean entirely into objective data. Bustamante views human interaction through a ruthlessly objective lens. He argues that all human behavior is driven by 4 core motivations: reward, ideology, coercion, and ego. He claims that ideology is the strongest motivator, while coercion is the weakest. To the spy, equality is a myth. Humans secretly strive for superiority, and manipulation is simply the other side of the motivation coin. But Vanessa Van Edwards, a behavioral investigator and body language expert, directly contradicts the spy's dismissal of emotion. Van Edwards argues that highly successful people speak a hidden language of cues. She cites research showing that 82% of human impressions are based entirely on 2 emotional metrics: warmth and competence. While the spy says to ignore your gut, the body language expert proves that your gut is processing data faster than your logical brain. Van Edwards points out that your brain is 12.5 times more likely to believe a hand gesture over a spoken word. She notes that fake smiles are actually worse than no smiles at all, and that humans can literally smell fear sweat, triggering an amygdala response before the logical brain even knows what is happening. And here's an absurd fact to lower the intensity for a second. The 10,000 steps a day rule that your smartwatch yells at you about? It has zero basis in medical science. It was invented by a Japanese pedometer company in the 1960s simply because the Japanese character for 10,000 looked like a man walking. We blindly follow a 60-year-old marketing gimmick because our brains crave simple, objective rules. So, who is right? The spy who says emotions are a liability, or the behavioral expert who says emotional cues rule the world? Enter Robert Greene, the master of power dynamics and author of the 48 Laws of Power. Greene synthesizes this contradiction perfectly. Greene argues that humans are inherently role players and actors. He states that everyone possesses a dark side, narcissism, aggression, envy, and that acknowledging this is the only way to gain control. Greene agrees with the body language expert. Nonverbal communication is 95% of human interaction, and true confidence cannot be faked because it stems from actual mastery. But Greene also agrees with the spy. You must be ruthlessly objective about human nature. The synthesis is this. The spy weaponizes the cues that the body language expert identifies, while the historian explains why we play these games in the first place. You do not survive by suppressing your emotions, as the spy suggests, nor do you survive by blindly trusting them, as conventional wisdom dictates. You survive by understanding the dark, emotional reality of human nature so thoroughly that you can navigate it with cold, logical precision. True power, Greene argues, is not about controlling others. It is an emotion rooted in the absolute control of oneself. The convergence. We have looked at the external threats of AI and nuclear annihilation. We have looked at the biological betrayal of our own evolution and stress responses. We have looked at the psychological warfare of body language, espionage, and power. When you force all 10 of these expert perspectives to converge, a single, undeniable truth emerges. You cannot control the external world. You cannot stop the exponential growth of artificial intelligence. You cannot dismantle the nuclear arsenals. You cannot change the fact that your biology wants you to be lazy, or that the people around you are leaking stress hormones, or that society is built on manipulation and hidden agendas. In 2018, Robert Greene, the man who literally wrote the manual on power and control, suffered a stroke. It was caused by a freak combination of a wasp sting and medication. In an instant, the master of control lost all physical control. He was paralyzed on his left side. He could no longer swim, hike, or mountain bike. Greene describes the profound, visceral understanding of helplessness that followed. He went through delusion, thinking he would recover in months. He went through deep depression, but eventually he found his salvation in the only thing he could still control: his mind. He returned to his writing. He practiced daily meditation. He forced himself to find profound gratitude in the simple act of watching someone else walk a dog, a pleasure he had previously taken for granted. Greene's story is the ultimate convergence of every lesson in these 10 episodes. The AI experts warn that we are building digital gods. The nuclear experts warn that we are minutes away from midnight. The biologists warn that our bodies are failing us. But the explicit insight is this: you cannot control the chaos of the outside world. You can only reprogram the one machine that truly matters: your own mind. You must become the conscious observer of your 95% programmed habits. You must build genuine confidence through the tedious, unglamorous pursuit of mastery. You must act as a good parent, not just to AI, but to your own dark side. You can't control the next 72 minutes of the world, but you can control the next 72 minutes of your life. That's the bite. New breakdowns drop every week, so subscribe and don't miss them. And if one of these ideas changed how you see something, drop it in the comments.